most impactful stories come from people who are deeply connected to their communities. In 5 News Originals, Women of Impact, we're spotlighting women who are making a difference and creating change in their own unique ways. For our first story, we take you to Chester, Arkansas, a small town tucked into the Ozarks with a rich history. It's a place Lacey Hendricks has always called home, and now she's working to restore and preserve its legacy. It's a unique place of raw natural beauty, but then also these values of community. It's one of these magical moments that seems like, time and technology has sped so fast, but right here, it still exists.
The quiet charm and rich history of Chester, Arkansas always felt like home to Lacey Hendricks.
I was born and raised. I always tell people just a few miles up the track north, and tucked away in this beautiful little valley in the Boston Mountain region of the Ozarks.
Even after years on the East Coast, her hometown never felt far away. In 2019, Lacey and her family decided to return.
We looked towards Arkansas to be close to family and thought we'd look for a normal home. And my husband was like, "Lacey, that old railroad inn that you've always loved in Chester is for sale."
Built in 1887, the Beard and Lady Inn, once known as the Chester Inn, has survived massive fires and floods. The building holds memories for many in town, including Lacey.
This became a bit of like childhood memory of staying with my mom and my grandmother and my brother through the years, and just the quietness of this area, the quirkiness of the rooms upstairs.
When the Hendricks family bought it, the inn needed serious repairs.
There was a lot of need. I mean, the roof was leaking everywhere. There was like holes in the floor in the kitchen. We had water leaks. When I was doing construction here, you get into like monotonous tasks, right? So tiling something, or you're like peeling wallpaper. And I was thinking a lot about how, I was born and raised here and I could have stayed here. I wanted people who never leave, like there's a lot of people who never leave the county or never leave the area, to be able to walk in here and time travel, experience a different culture.
Through teamwork and creativity, that dream came to life. As just one of 4 businesses in Chester, the inn gradually became both a unique, historic stay for travelers and a vibrant hub for art and culture in the community.
We want to continue to create and live in this space that's absolutely beautiful and educate ourselves on what our natural resources are.
And as the inn grew, Lacey began to see ways to support Chester beyond its walls, starting with an unexpected discovery. The town did not have a sales tax.
It was surprising to me that while I have a business here, that revenue was not specifically going into the community of Chester. How can the tourism dollars that are coming, from people go into the city of Chester to better the community? It's under, I believe, $40,000 a year that we operate as a city, and so there's many needs.
She spearheaded a 1% sales tax initiative, which passed in November 2024.
I don't think that we'll see any significant income coming the first year, but as that kind of compounds and as we can build some of those funds, I do think it'll have a significant part of Chester and its growth.
Her goal, to continue revitalizing the area while preserving its heritage.
I would love to see the swinging bridge eventually as something that is part of Chester's heritage and history. We used to have a swinging bridge festival that people would come from the train, they would drop them off, and you would be able to cross the bridge across the creek. I think for tourism it would be amazing. I think for Chester pride and community and heritage, it would be an awesome thing to see.
And as the work continues, Lacey says she couldn't have done any of this on her own.
I keep having people walk through my door and they're like, "I am here for you. I see what you're doing. I'm not gonna let you quit."
People like Eden Ellis, who runs the apothecary attached to the inn.
I've always loved this building forever. I had a great-great-grandmother that worked here in the 1800s. We did Easter here every year, and I would pick out a dress and wait all year to take my picture at the inn. And so when Lacey got it and she came and found me at the Chester Farmers Market, she said I would be perfect in the apothecary. Lacey's vision was to kind of have a place where the community could come and just have fellowship together.
And that vision has become a reality, one she continues to build on every day.
This place no longer feels like it's mine. It feels like something
that I'd put a lot of work into and was always intending to really open the doors for community. And so I forget, I forget that this is something that I did and that was one of my visions and dreams, and then it's like, oh, it's here. It still feels very much like we did this together.
Teamwork is a common theme in these stories of leadership and trailblazing. It's one of the things Amber Dietrich, the owner of Confident Coffee, says helped her break barriers, turning her passion into a business that's become a staple in Northwest Arkansas. Next, we take a closer look at Amber's story and the impact she's making in the coffee industry.
All of our first introductions into coffee is like having coffee at a coffee shop.
But for roasters like Amber Dietrich, every cup starts long before it reaches the coffee shop.
Different coffees will look different shades of like truly like a green, a little bit of a bluish tint, some a little bit more brown.
Roasting is about precision.
I am taking measurement readings, like how dense is the bean, how much moisture is in that bean.
The process is about smell as much as it is sight.
Coffee will go from green to yellow to like a light brown to a darker brown. You can tell what different phases that you're in based on what things smell like.
Light, medium, or dark roast, every cup is a labor of love. Amber's journey started years ago with a career in specialty food and beverage. Along the way, she was introduced to specialty coffee.
It was just kind of being so involved in that community and seeing the value of what it adds to like the different neighborhoods that they serve.
In 2016, after moving from Dallas to Northwest Arkansas, where a strong coffee culture was brewing, she began to consider starting a company of her own.
At that time, there's women doing stuff in coffee, but you don't see a lot of people who are in leadership roles.
It's a venture that took her to different countries, meeting roasters and farmers and learning their stories as she traveled.
Meeting people in Costa Rica, talking to women farmers, like understanding the process of like what they go through to try and support that on the state side.
From there, Confident Coffee was born, starting as a roastery and opening its doors as a shop in 2020.
The name Confident came from exactly how I felt. It isn't that I always, my whole life, felt confident, but I did always really want to own something. I wanted to have something that was mine and that if I worked really hard could be successful. I really do think I'm supposed to be a coffee roaster, and I think I'm supposed to open a coffee company, and I don't know how to explain this. I feel confident.
That confidence helped her take the big step of opening a business and stepping into a leadership role in a historically male-dominated industry.
The truth is that specialty coffee and commodity coffee as a whole only exists on the backs of women. The reality is that the labor force in all of coffee is 70 to 90% women. But only 20% of those same women actually own land or are in a leadership position. A lot of it was just like the first exposure to a machine that has complicated parts, gain a skill set that I wasn't like inherently taught ever in life. Getting over that intimidation, having awesome male mentors, by the way, throughout my career.
As Confident Coffee approaches 5 years as a shop, it continues to grow with a roastery, shops in Johnson and Rogers, and another coming to Fayetteville in August.
I have customers today that will be in the shop tonight that were here from day one, and they are still coming.
One of those longtime customers is Mike Davis.
This is my neighborhood coffee joint, when I lived here, and I live in Springdale now, but I regularly make choices. If I'm out and I want coffee and I'm anywhere near here, I'll be like, well, I'll drive 15 minutes on my way and come get some Confident Coffee.
He says watching Amber's journey has been inspiring.
She started at the hardest of times just to even continue business, but she's starting it, and it's just, the whole community has embraced it.
For Amber, the success isn't just about the product, it's about the people who have supported her along the way.
The real success of our company is like coming from every single person that's on my team. The community really supports each other here. I do feel like even just in coffee or in other industries, it's such a good spirit about this area is that people want to see each other succeed.
And whether it's learning a new skill or opening a business, she has one message for anyone thinking about taking a leap.
The number one thing that you can do is believe in yourself.
Because sometimes the first step is confidence.
Women's history isn't just about celebrating those making an impact today, it's also about honoring the women who came before us, paving the way for future generations. And 100 years ago, a group of women in Winslow, Arkansas did just that, making history as Arkansas's first all-female government. Here's the story of the Winslow Petticoat Government.
A century ago, the small town of Winslow, Arkansas was the place many chose for a quiet getaway.
Winslow was a resort town at that point, and people would come in from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, different places, and because of the higher elevation, it was nice and cool.
In 1925, the vacation town made history.
You have this group of women who come together, right, and they decide to run for office. In Winslow, Arkansas, of all places, right?
The group of women,
you've got your treasurer, you've got your postmistress, your mayor,
became known as the Winslow Petticoat Government, only the second of its kind in the country. The story goes that it started as a joke.
The women were complaining about how the men were running the city. And so the men said, oh, they can't handle it. They just come, if they were elected, they're just going to sit there and drink pink tea and gossip.
Maybe some of the men were kind of egging on the women. Now you've got the vote, like, so maybe you should run for office kind of thing.
No matter how it started, it ended in a victory, which began a new chapter of growth in Winslow.
They took down the jail, got rid of it. One of the main things they did was change the course of the road going up West Mountain.
They got the highway to come through there. They got people to kind of beautify the area, maybe planting flowers or doing some needed repairs on your homes. And some of the ladies worked with the local lumber companies to like make the repairs a little more affordable for people.
The women served 2 successful terms.
The men had asked them to run for a 3rd term, and they said no, they just had too many things going on.
Local historian Rachel Whitaker and museum curator Joanne Kyle have both taken a deep interest in this group of ladies, led by Mayor Maud Duncan, who made a lasting mark on the town.
She was so important to Winslow. At 14 or 15, she was already teaching. She had her teaching certificate.
She's the second registered female pharmacist in the state of Arkansas. She's run the newspaper.
April 7th, 2025 will mark 100 years since the Petticoat government took office. And as the town celebrates the centennial, Whitaker and Kyle agree it's important to honor this unique piece of local history.
We haven't had this happen again in Northwest Arkansas, so it's kind of a one-off at this point. But it's also just this incredible story of these hometown ladies who make this, massive change to what's going on.
If you drive through Winslow today, only a few buildings remain from the era of the Petticoat government, but the impact of these trailblazing women is something a town will never forget.
From preserving history to breaking barriers in business and leadership, these women, past and present, show us what it means to make a lasting impact. Whether it's through restoring a town, building a community around coffee, or changing the course of local government, their stories remind us that trailblazing takes many forms. And while times change, the impact of strong, determined women like the ones we've met today will never be forgotten. Thanks for watching 5 News Originals Women of Impact. I'm Morgan Wrigley.